that we've heard. And I was thinking of this verse, Brother Tony, where it says, iron sharpeneth iron. And so that message last night just got me excited about the book of Jeremiah. I went in that book today with a little bit of it. Amen? So praise the Lord for that. All right, let's all stand and sing page 120. If you need a hymn book, Victory in Jesus, 120 Church Hymnal. 120 Victory in Jesus.
Yes, sir.
God be with the saints. I will give you honor, Lord. God be with the preachers.
Yes, God.
God lift you up. I can sweet Jesus. And I pray.
Amen.
181. Blessed assurance. 181. Blessed assurance. many of you can remember when that was not your story? When if you run into somebody in town and said, "Hey, do you know old so-and-so?" And they'd begin to tell you all about old so-and-so and what kind of person old so-and-so was. And that story from back then is a 90-degree turn from what that story is today. I'm glad there was a time when they'd run up and say, "How about Eddie White?" And they saw he's a hellion and a drunk and a whatever. And now you run into him, they say, "Oh, he's one of them fanatics. He's one of them Bible thumpers." Amen. Hallelujah. I'm glad I've got a brand new story. Amen. Thank God it's good to be in church. Y'all glad you're saved? Say amen. Amen. You can be seated except for the men. Want all the men that will pile up in this altar and we won't pray. That is the one thing that's left out of some of the biggest meetings in this country. They have some of the best singers in, some of the best preachers in, but they don't pray. So we're going to pray. God touch the Hensons tonight, Brother Eric Brown, Brother Tony Shirley. Pray God do something in our midst tonight. Ladies, you pray where you are. Amen. Let's get hold of the Lord tonight. Amen. Let's pray. He's faithful to answer our prayer. I believe if He's truly invited from the heart, He'll show up. Have our ushers come. Brother David, you did come and receive the season's offering. Everything we give tonight is every night in this meeting. We'll give straight to our preachers, our evangelists. family. Mr. Daddy sitting back there going, what about me? What about me? No, she's not. I'm kidding. Let's give from our heart tonight. You need to write a check, write it to the church. I promise we won't keep it down there. We'll be all these folks. They've been a blessing to us, haven't they? Many of you remember the message on Monday night. Monday night. The light. What's the one thing that is necessary for you and I to see? Light. Thank God for the light. How about Tuesday night? Talk to them. Unity between the pulpit and the pew. Unity between the pulpit and the pew. Any preacher in this building knows what I'm talking about. You know when they're with you, and you know when they're not. Amen. I like it when you're with me. Amen. Unity between the pulpit and the pew. Wednesday night, Brother Roger Henson, anybody remember? Lot. What it cost Lot to move to Sodom. Cost him everything. Cost him everything. Last night with Shirley. Never mind. I'm telling you some good stuff. All that stuff's on the old interweb on the website. You can pull it up and listen to it. You know, some of that stuff you need to listen to again. A lot of it, because of working and scoping and all that, you couldn't come this morning. Hey, if God's called you into any part of the ministry, you need to hear Brother Tony's message this morning on being a gift. On being a gift. Oh my, that helped me. That helped me an awful lot. I want to be one of those gifts when you open it and you go, wow, that's just what I need. Amen. Instead of really. So I don't want to be a pair of socks. Amen. Amen. I want to be a good truck. Hallelujah. Amen. Hallelujah. What a blessing. I'm looking forward to tonight. What God's got for us. So let's bow our heads. We'll ask God. You should already pray twice, but we'll pray again. And ask God to bless this offering tonight. Amen. Jeremiah, ask the Lord to bless the offering.
Lord, for this day, Lord, thank you for being so good to us, Lord. Thank you for showing up the other nights, Lord. But please show up tonight, Lord, and give us what we need, Lord. Please help us singing, Lord, and please help the preaching, Lord, and give us all blessed and help us to leave better than we can, Lord, and help us not to leave the same that we can, Lord, and help us to get something. Keep us safe as we go home, Lord, and bless the preachers, Lord, and fill them, Lord. And
Yes,
bless
God.
us offering, Lord, in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Let's have the Hensons come. Amen. I'm ready to go deep. All this preliminary stuff, we're just going to get that out of the way right now. And I come to go with you. Amen. I didn't come to get out. I come to get in. Can't be. Comes one time a year. Got people already asking, what time do you think we'll get out? When it's over. Amen. When it's over. Listen, I was at the Braves game then quite a few years ago, back when they were still at Turner Field in Atlanta. And shut the doors back there, Brother Dennis, and shut that train up. I was at the Braves game, and it was right about the end of the, what do they call that, 7th inning stretch. And they were getting stomped. I'm talking about royally getting stomped. It was like 8-0. And during that 7th inning stretch, about 3/4 of that crowd made a mass exit. Well, they come back and rally in the top of that 8th inning and beat them. I mean, unmerciful. I mean, it was a home run rally. And I thought, man, all them people that got bored and left, they just didn't. Some of you might think after the first preacher tonight, oh boy, I've heard enough. I'm just going to go home now. You stay till it's over. Don't tell him what God will do after you leave. Amen. Amen. So I'd stay for the whole thing. Amen. Ladies, y'all sing. Let's worship tonight.
you without you knowing it. So if you don't know tonight, this is a good time to get saved. I'm just thankful for what He's done for me. What a Savior. Lord, it's wonderful, wonderful, and more wonderful. And it's good to be here now.
This song goes right along with being the last song there. You know, you don't know maybe the date that you got saved, but you better have a place. I know exactly where I got saved. Gray, Tennessee, at an old log altar cut in half, with legs put up in it, and I knelt at that altar. It was a hot July night out open air tabernacle, and I actually know the date, July 15th, 1987, and I'm just thankful to be saved. My dad doesn't know the date, but he knows the place, and that's what you got to know. When the devil comes bothering you, you better have a place to take him. That's what this song talks about.
It's been some time since I made up my mind. Jesus is Lord of my life. I faced some fears, shed many tears, but patience has stood by my side. I hear Satan say, "You're not even saved. You're traveling down the wrong track." I recall once again when grace withstood sin, and memories made. I take him back to time, old-fashioned meeting, presence of God fill the air. Well, saints are singing grace and glory, melody seasoned with prayer. One simple sermon, old-fashioned preachers like light to the poor dying slave. I'm walking down the aisle to the place at the altar, grace that I know I got
Now, I never
Why don't you just close your eyes for a second? Can you go there? Can you go there right now? Let him think about it in his mind. I can smell the pine straw on the old tree where I prayed. I can remember exactly what I said. I'll never forget the sweet Holy Ghost of God moving down in my heart. Oh, we ought to take him back tonight. Some of you, the devil's got you beat down, got you beat half to death. Hey, you just got over the fact that you're going to heaven. Somebody ought to go back tonight to where you got in. I went to bed as a child last night. I woke up this morning still as a child. Somebody said, "How do you stay in? How do you keep from quitting?" I go back and I go back and I go back. I don't get saved over and over, but I can go back and relive that thing, Brother Eric, time and time again. Somebody ought to go back tonight. If you can truly go back to where you got saved, and all you can do, all you can muster is old. You didn't get what I got. You didn't get what I got. Are you listening? While they sing this second verse, why don't you go back? They're talking about taking the devil back. Why don't you go back? Remember just what God's done for you. It might not have been in an old-fashioned meeting. It might not have been in an old-fashioned altar. It might have been like me, a New Year's Eve under a pine tree in the preacher's front yard. While I was getting saved, my wife was in the back seat of the car with my mama getting born again. Amen. Let's go back a little bit tonight. Why don't you rejoice in what He's done for you?
Now I never knew love till it came from above. Took its hold in my heart.
Oh, the sun now shines. change my whole life. Creator is now anew. I'm that old accuser. Me, I'm a loser. My head, he lost my soul. Back to time, old-fashioned meaning, presence and love in the air. Saints are singing, praise for me.
Sing that first verse again. I told you I come to get in. Well, it ain't nothing to shout about. Just all my sins are gone. Yeah. I'm talking about all the guilt, all the shame. I remember sitting in church and people shout like Miss Brenda just did. I'd sit there as a kid and laugh at it. And you know what I'd say? I'll never do that. I went down under that old pine tree, and before I could even get done praying, Brother Tony, I was just going, woo! Woo! You know why? It felt so good. Somebody said, you can't base it on the feeling. Yeah, but thank God I'm feeling. Sister Brenda, how many years you been saved? You know? About 50 years. And she can still shout about it 50 years later. Sing that first verse again.
It's been some time since I made up my mind. Jesus is the Lord of my life. I faced some fears, shed many tears, but patience stood by my side. Hear Satan say, you're not even saved. Traveling down the wrong track. I recall once again where grace withstood
There's a young lady by the name of Nicole. She's probably in her 20s, I guess. 19-year-old girl, almost in her 20s. Came to the service with Brother Joseph and Miss Christie. Came down here to this altar last night and she got saved. Didn't find out for just a minute ago. Hallelujah goes right there. Thank God, man. I'm glad to be around where God's doing something. Where the program don't matter. And where what God wants matters more than anything else. It's preaching time. Back in August, we celebrated 5 years of Brother Caleb and Miss Jasmine being in Trinidad, Colorado, and planned that meeting for a year, I guess. Talked about it on and off. And Caleb told me, said, I met a guy and I got him to come. His name's Eric Brown. And I thought, well, I ain't never heard of him. And then got to asking around. I knew a lot of people he knew. And same friends, same circle, and that kind of thing. Got up there and met Brother Eric. We stayed in the house together there all week and just became friends. Monday night, I believe it was Monday night, while he was preaching, the Holy Spirit said, you got to get him. You got to get him to come. The Lord put him on my heart. It's kind of funny, Brother Tony. Brother Eric's from Dalton, Georgia. And then God moved him to Virginia. And we met in Colorado. Ain't that something? I believe it was a divine appointment. I believe that law of heart. Brother Eric just got in this afternoon. And I texted him, he said, you ready to preach? And I forgot what he sent me, but it had I asked Levi, I didn't know what it was. And because I can't see it blind. I was looking at my phone, it was a blue man. And I thought it was one of them, is it North Carolina got them deacons? Dude, blue devils. That's what I thought it was. It was one of them deacons. I thought he done sent me a demon. Levi said, no, Daddy, that's an emoji. It's a man screaming till he's blue in the face. I said, oh, okay. All right, that means he's ready to preach. Hallelujah. Brother Eric Brown, I want you to come. When you preach, get your Bibles and let's get ready. Listen to the man of God tonight. I believe he'll bless your heart if you listen to him tonight. We love you, preacher. You make yourself at home, brother. Let her rip.
I'm in James chapter number 5 tonight. Thank you, preacher man. James chapter number 5. It's my understanding, if it is the Lord's will, I'll also be preaching tomorrow night. And so that's not a disclaimer, so you can not be here. I want you to come. But I said that because I want to just cut out a lot of things that I would say tonight, because I want to hear the man of God, Brother Shirley. I got to hear him for the first time in Colorado. I've heard a lot about him, and just, man, it blessed my heart. And I want to hear the man of God preach tonight. And so if you'll listen fast, I'll try to preach fast. I don't have to change the way I talk down here. Everybody understands what I'm saying. So I feel right at home. And so I can just talk like I want to and not have to worry about it. Sometimes you got to slow down for people. I wondered why Caleb and Jasmine were always happy. Every time I see them in pictures, they're always smiling. And after I get around them, they're always just real happy. And I thought, man, they got something. I mean, I know I'm saved, but what do they got? And I found out when I went to Trinidad, they got another business in Trinidad. They don't, but Trinidad was making a lot of money off a particular item. And so it got me thinking, well, maybe they tapped into that. Maybe there's something going on down there. They always happy. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about, you just check it out. It's but anyway, it's my honor to be here. I appreciate your pastor and the opportunity to be here. The privilege is mine. But I tell you one thing that jumped out to me when I met your preacher is just his welcoming and inviting spirit. Just an encourager, and man, I really enjoyed being around him that week in Colorado. And the preaching he does, you've got a jewel here. Don't take it for granted. My goodness, don't take it for granted. You know how many churches are drying up and dying? And They've substituted preaching for some little talk and some sideshow, but you got a preacher here today. Stand with him, stand behind him, shout him on, and get in what's going on. James chapter number 5. My goodness, I have felt sorry all since I walked in the door, because your pastor asked me to preach a particular message that I did preach in Colorado. And I thought for sure in my heart and mind he wanted me to preach that thing tonight. I thought I was preaching for sure tonight, and then maybe tomorrow night. He said, "No, preacher," he said, "you got that backwards." He said, the first thing he said to me when he seen me tonight, he said, "You'll have all night tomorrow. You're the only preacher. You'll have all night to concentrate on that message." And I went, Well, no, I took a walnut. Let me know that that's an inside joke for them. But I've had this on my heart all day long. And I'll just be honest with you, I think sometimes those things are by divine appointment. And there's more in this Bible than just one thing. So Lord willing, I'll have something to preach tomorrow night too. But man, this is on me, and so I pray it's the will of God, especially with everything that's went on tonight. And so I'm going to try my best to give you my heart. James chapter number 5, look with me in verse number 12, please. "But above all things, my brethren, swear not neither by heaven, neither by earth, neither by any other oath, but let your yea be yea, and your nay be nay, lest you fall into condemnation. Is any among you afflicted? Let him pray. Is any merry? Let him sing psalms. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church. Let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up." Now watch now, get ready, because these verses are going to really come into play now, these words. "And if he have committed sins." Anybody know anything about that? I wish I could tell you I didn't have that in my life today, but I'd lie to you. That'd just be something else I'd have to confess, and so I'm just not going to do it. Y'all still want them? Yeah. Stick around? Because I ain't got a whole lot to offer, because I've committed some sins. The Bible said they shall be forgiven him. It says in verse 16, "Confess your what? Faults." Oh my goodness, man. One to another, pray for one another that you may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Elias was a man subject to what? Like passions as we are. Skip with me if you will. "Brethren," in verse number 19, well, let's just read on. He said, he prayed earnestly that it might not rain, and it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. "Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth, and one convert him." Now watch verse number 20. "Let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death." Now here's the statement I want to get to. I'm already excited. I'm already pretty fired up about what I'm getting ready to say right here. Let me just back up. And the Bible said, let him know, understand this thing, that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death. But that ain't just it. That's worth rejoicing over. But the Bible said, "And shall hide a multitude of sins." Oh my God, how we need you tonight. I beg you to touch me and help me. Use me as your vessel for your glory. Touch my mind. Help me to think the thoughts of God. My lips help me to speak the truth in love and in power demonstration of the Holy Ghost of God. May you bring glory to yourself and help us tonight, I pray, by the good grace of God in Jesus' name. And all God's people say it. Amen. "And shall hide a multitude of sins." Now we've noticed in these verses that we have brought to light a couple words. The word sins is mentioned in verse 15. The word faults in verse 16. Passions in verse 17. Error in verse 19. Sinner in verse 20. Error in verse 20. And then again the word sins in verse number 20. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I wish I could admit to you tonight that as a saved man, I do not struggle with sin. But again, I would lie to you, and there I'd be again, having to confess something before I could even preach tonight. I'm telling you, friend, that I know I'm saved. I know I've been born again. But until we see Jesus and we lay aside this old man, honey, I'm telling you, you're going to struggle with it. Somebody asked the old preacher one time, as an older man of God, and they asked him, I think he was in his mid-70s, they said, "Preacher man, when do you get to the place to where you don't fight the flesh, where you don't deal with sin?" He looked at that young preacher and he said, "Son, you're going to have to go ask somebody much older than I." He said, "Because every day of my life I still get up and I still struggle with my flesh and I still struggle with sin." Here's what the Bible says about sin. Here's what we know about it. Adam plunged the entire human race into sin in the Garden of Eden. So now you can breathe. Take your halo off, slip your wings underneath you. You're here, your car's in the parking lot, and you are a sinner. And it's not because of what you've done, just because you were born. You were born in sin. You have a sin nature. Adam, our father, plunged us into the mess we're in tonight. Not only did Adam plunge the human race into it, but every man's guilty. Every man's guilty. Every man's guilty. And you hear me tonight, there is a payment that comes along with sin that you don't want to try to handle on your own. It's an impossibility to handle it on your own. You cannot do it. I'm telling you, whoever said it right. Sin will take you further than you want to go, keep you longer than you plan to stay, and cost you a whole lot more than you ever planned to pay. Here's what William Evans said about sin. He said, "Life and erroneous views of the atonement come from life and erroneous views of sin. If sin is regarded as merely an offense against man, a weakness of human nature, just a mere disease, rather than as rebellion, transgression, and enmity against God, and therefore something condemning and punishable, we shall not, of course, see any necessity for the atonement. We must see sin as the Bible depicts it, as something which brings wrath, condemnation, and eternal ruin in its train. We must see it as guilt that needs expiation. We must see it as God denounces it. We confess sin today in such light and easy terms that it has lost its terror. And I'm telling you tonight, jails are full of men and women tonight because of sin. Homes are broken tonight and marriages fall apart because of sin. Teenagers are committing suicide at an alarming rate tonight because of sin. Sin is plastered on billboards more today than it's ever been. Sin is promoted more than it's ever been. Sin has been embraced in our nation more than it's ever been. But how do you look around you? We're paying a high price for what we have embraced and pulled into our bosom. Oh, but honey, I was reading an article today, and somebody had walked into a jewelry store, and as the jeweler was showing a piece of jewelry to a gentleman, he pulled the gun and he stuck it to the man's face, and when he pulled the trigger, just in a moment the man threw his hand up, and it showed the picture of his wedding ring, Brother Shirley, where the bullet caught the wedding ring and ricocheted away from that man's face. And somebody wrote an article and said, "Wow, what a miracle out of nowhere, just a reaction. What a miracle that that man's life was saved." Can I define what it is, what a miracle is to you? Mr. Webster said literally, a miracle means a wonder or a wonderful thing. And that's what happened in that jewelry store. You scratch your head and wonder and say, "Wow, how in the world did it not blow his finger off, hit him square between the eyes, and kill him dead?" Are you listening to me? That's the literal meaning. Oh, but honey, the theological meaning, Mr. Webster said, the established constitution and course of things. It means a deviation from the known laws of nature. You say, what are you saying? Here's what the Bible said. The law of sin demands, for the wages of sin is death. Are you listening to me? That's what we see all around us. We see death on every hand. That's the effect of listen. A miracle is an event or effect contrary to the established constitution. And the constitution that's set in your lap said there is a price for sin. Sin, it drives man from God. Sin separates man from God. And because of sin, we cannot get to God. Honey, can I remind you tonight, I've heard of some things in this life being miracle oriented. But I want you to know, I know tonight when I strolled in here, you didn't think much of this bald-headed preacher. You didn't think much of, you didn't know. I mean, most of y'all don't know me, and you didn't think much of me. But look up in here at me. You're looking at a miracle tonight. You're looking at a real life, a miracle standing before your eyes. You say, what happened, preacher? Was it something when your mom gave birth? Or what happened? Did you go through some tragedy and God miraculously pull you out? Yeah, really both of those things. But I want you to know the miracle of all miracles is when a lone sinner walks the aisle and he trusts Jesus Christ as his personal Savior, and his life in an instant gets totally transformed by the glory of God. You talking about changing the course? You talking about changing the event? You talking about going against the Constitution? That's a miracle. And here it is. The Bible said, I'm telling you now, we're all guilty. We all want to be in hell tonight with a back road. I sit here for a minute and talked about sin. Some of you start ducking your head if I start naming things. Now I want to go back to my past life, because I'm telling you right now, I'm totally ashamed of how I lived before I got saved. I'm totally ashamed of the life. I'm glad I agree with the preacher. You look back, but you better not dwell there too long. You better get to the place in a hurry. You better look at where he brought you from. But you better get that excited about where you're going. I'm telling you, friend, listen to me. But when I do look back, preacher, here's the one thing I see. The list was long. Are you listening to me? The pages were deep. There was a record against my life. But oh, the Bible said in one little statement in the last verse of James chapter number 5, and shall hide a multitude of sin. I'm preaching for a few minutes tonight on this subject. I can't find them, and neither can you. I can't find them, and neither can you. I got 4 or 5 little things about this miracle of my sins being hidden, and you got to listen fast. Number 1, we gain an understanding of this miracle first of all by death. By death. Are you listening? We gain an understanding of this miracle of our sins being hidden by death. Are you listening to me tonight? Here's what I'm saying. The Red Sea has an average depth of 1,608 feet, with a maximum depth of 7,254 feet. You say, preacher, what does that got to do with my sin being hid? Well, the Bible said in Micah 7, verse 18 and 19, who is a God like unto thee, that pardoneth iniquity, and passeth by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. He will turn again. He will have compassion on us. He will subdue our iniquities. Now watch, here it is. The Bible said, now we'll cast our sins into the depths of the sea. I do not have the time tonight to go into a theological discussion with you about where I think my sins are and where yours are and what's happened in the Old Testament, New Testament. Just trust me for a minute, I'm going somewhere. But I'm not going to the Old Testament with the maximum depth of 7,254. You say, why is that important? Number one, I want you to know that if my sins and your sins are in the depths of the sea, and I thought about this today while I was pondering the message on the airplane, I thought, man, you throw those things in water, unless they got some weight to it, what do? They come floating back to the top. Are you listening to me? I mean, they come floating back to the top, and they're laying all out there. And somebody walks up to the water and goes, man, somebody's wintered this thing up. I mean, look at what somebody's done out here in the water. Whoa, I'm telling you, you know what they've never done? After whatever seed Jesus put our sins in, no man's ever walked up to it and said, man, somebody has wintered this thing up. I mean, somebody's made a mess out of this thing. There's all kind of trash laying out here. You know why you'll never find it on the top of the water or anywhere else? Never find it. I'm telling you, pressure. That's my sins in. At sea level, the air that surrounds us presses down on our bodies at 14.5 pounds per square inch. Amen. You don't feel it because the fluids in your body are pushing outward with the same force. Amen. If you dive down in the ocean a few feet, though, a noticeable change occurs. Amen. You can feel an increase of pressure on your eardrums, and this is due to an increase of hydrostatic pressure, the force per unit area exerted by a liquid on an object. Yeah. I hope I'm not saying this stuff so fast that you can't get excited and maybe even run around the building a little bit, but it might hit you and somewhere buried, maybe in the depths of some sea tonight, is your own life and your own sin and your own record. You say, what's keeping it from floating up? Pressure! The deeper you go under that sea, the greater the pressure of the water pushing down on you. For every 33 feet you go down, the pressure increases by another 14.5 psi. Yes, sir. In the deepest ocean, the pressure, somebody grab your neighbor because somebody can take off right here. Somebody was in real bad shape when you got here. Oh, are you listening? I may not get part of that, but somebody just like me was in real bad shape. And there was a laundry list of things that you don't want everybody knowing about. You say, where they at? Where they at? I don't want anybody to get to them. Come on. You hear me? In the deepest ocean, the pressure is equivalent to the weight of an elephant balanced on a postage stamp. It is the equivalent of one person trying to support 50 jumbo jets. I got on a jet today, and that jet brought me here. I wasn't supporting the jet. The jet was supporting me. Are you serious? An elephant balanced on a postage stamp? You say, what's keeping my sins from being known to the whole world? He's put them so far in the bottom of the sea somewhere. There's such pressure holding them there that no man, no devil, no demon will Pressure keeps my sins hidden. Number two, it's somehow. Can I take this jacket off? If somehow you can get one of them new design suits they got, and you can plunge off down into the deepest sea. You're going down there to find old brown sin. Come on. You're going to bring him up to him. You're going to talk to him. He ain't what he thinks he is.
Yeah.
How that preacher boy, he ain't what he thinks he is. I know he's got a pass somewhere.
Yeah.
And let's just say somehow you can rig up something to get that far down. I'll tell you the second thing keeps my sins hidden in that sea. It's not only pressure, it's darkness. The ocean is divided into 3 zones based on depth and light level. First of all, there's the sunlight zone. The sunlight zone is from sea level to 200 meters or 656 feet. And they tell me that sunlight rarely penetrates beyond this point. Now, if I'm lying, ask Brother Levi. If I tell the truth, well, y'all don't believe him, and you should go to church here, and y'all may not believe anything he says. But he is a preacher's kid. But when I was preaching this in Colorado, he was sitting over there in the front row going, yeah! Hallelujah! It's helping him. But what I didn't know is he had done some studying on oceanography. And he said, preacher, you got to talk about that stuff about the oceans. I knew exactly what you were talking about. He said, you're telling me right? This ain't stuff I'm making up. You can find this on the internet. Sunlight zone. Listen to me. Darkness keeps us in. There's a sunlight. Second of all, there's what they call the twilight zone. The twilight zone is from 656 to 3,280 feet. And they tell me that under the very right conditions, that sunlight entering the water may travel up to 3,280 feet, but there is rarely any significant light beyond 656. So some of y'all may be okay with that. But to me, I'd be like being a Church of God. I know it's the first time, but I ain't planning on losing what I got. No, see, occasionally under the right light, in the right circumstances, the light may penetrate on down there to about 3280. And so, honey, I don't know. If I got a God like that, I don't even know if I want to be saved. Listen, I know that I got some bad stuff, and I don't want that kind on me. But they tell me there's not only the sunlight zone and the twilight zone, but thank God for the midnight zone. Woo! Hallelujah! Here's what they said. The midnight zone is the depths below 3,280 feet. Here's what they tell me about the midnight zone. Sunlight does not penetrate to these depths. It is totally bathed in darkness. So if you can find the right suit size, I'll tell you, you go down there and say, oh yeah, I got over around. You get down there at about 600, you're doing good. You get down there at about 6.5, you're doing all right. You start losing a little while at 1,000 feet, but it happens to be a real good day, and light's getting on down in there, and you're like, man, that old stupid preacher, he told me you couldn't see down this far. But about the time you hit 3280, honey, the lights go out. I'm reminded of another time the lights went out. There's something about Jesus and the lights going out. And honey, all of a sudden the lights are gone, and it's bathed in darkness. And about the time you're going to get something on me, boom, the lights go out. You still have nothing. Pressure keeps my sins in. Darkness keeps my sins in. That is it. If somehow you can get the right suit. And I'll tell you something. Some of y'all crazy. I'll deer hunting. I'll get that in a minute. But y'all think I'm spending $150 on a flashlight? Y'all are nuts. You see what some of these guys are spending on flashlights? It's insane. $100, $200, $300, $400. You got more money you know what to do with it. He said, I can check the church. $100, write that check to me every day around. If you got that kind of money, you write me a check too, praise God. fluorescent lights they got, different colors on it. You're going to have to go around and see it. You got me now, don't you? Come on. There's one more thing that keeps my sins in that sea. And they ain't never come. You ain't never heard a fisherman go, oh man, ooh, landed the big one. When he gets it up there, it's just a bucket load of my sin and yours. Yeah. And he goes to read it to the world, and you have to duck your head. Come on. It makes that God plays hide and seek. I'll tell you number 3. By the time you get there, you do little flashlights cost you about $700. Yeah. About the time you get there, you're going to find out there's one more thing that keeps my sins in that state. Temperature.
Yeah, right.
Temperature keeps my sins in. Deep ocean water, or DOW, is the name for cold, salty water found deep below the surface of the Earth's ocean. Ocean water differs in temperature and salinity. Warm surface water is generally saltier than the cooler, deep, or polar waters. In polar regions, the upper layers of ocean water are cold and fresh. Deep ocean water makes up 90%. Did y'all get that? Come on. Deep ocean water. Man, right there in the purple. He didn't put my sins in the 10% part of the sea. Sir, he didn't. Hey, where's my shouter? He didn't put my sins where you just wait out there a little bit, pull your little preacher's face out there, out there a little bit, and go, I got it. Brother Levi, 90%. 90%. Deep ocean water makes up 90% of the volume of the oceans. You say, why is that significant? Because deep ocean water has a very low temperature, typically from 0 to 3 degrees Celsius or 32 to 38 degrees. So, sir, here's what I know. You got your suit on, and you plunged off down there. You got your flashlight. Man, you're really making progress now, aren't you? You done got down there spotted on ground, see them, there they are. There they are. You're reading them off, and they're making you no good because you ain't coming back up. Go ahead and read, friend, because you fixing to find. You fixing to get. You talk. Hey, what's that? Frozen. And even if you found a light, about the time you got there to pull them up, God would freeze you to death. Some of y'all worried about your life. Some of y'all worried about what you confessed this morning. You're worried about it. Hey, you've been out with all day. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Remind me to come back to that state before I finish. No, that this morning business. Mine. Ooh, look at this thing flies, man. Watch with me. We got to understand this miracle by depth. Number 2, we got to understand this miracle by our sins being gone by distance. I won't labor this. I love flying. I thought Brother Levi was a pilot. Really disappointed when he said he just worked up here. I noticed they didn't disclose that information when they were telling me about it. Yeah. Well, Caleb's like, Master Son's coming to Levi, he works for the over. This guy's awesome. He's pilot. He's probably good looking. He's probably, a lot of money. So I said, something about you just gonna walk away from being a pilot, or have you just want to be a pilot? And I went, They said, no, he just works for them. Sorry, he jumped out to me. Planes fly at an average of 45,000 feet or less. 30,000 feet, listen now, 30,000 feet is equivalent to almost 5.7 miles. When we took off today, we got up in the air probably about 10,000 feet, and they said, ladies and gentlemen, we're now at 10,000 feet, you can use your devices or whatever they say, and said, we'll be cruising at about 40,000 feet. So we still have 30,000 feet to go. And he said, my we were way up there. I mean, that is way up there, 5.7 miles. But most planes cruise between 30 and 45, and at an average of 45,000. Here's why that's important. After the human body reaches 7,000 feet above sea level, the saturation of oxyhemoglobin begins to plummet. However, the human body has both short-term and long-term adaptations to altitude that allow it to partially compensate for the lack of oxygen. But there is a limit to that adaptation. Mountaineers refer to the altitudes above 26,000. Listen, above 26,000 feet, here's what they say. It's the death zone, where no human body can live. You can't acclimatize to it. You cannot adjust to it. Yeah. What's that important? Why? I mean, planes at 45,000, 26. What are you getting at? Well, the moon is, to get this, 238,900 miles from the earth. When you walk outside tonight, on a clear night, I guess, I don't know, we just had 4 months, so maybe, but you walk outside tonight and you just look out and boom, it's right there. Yeah. It's 238,000 miles from you. Yeah. And it's like you can reach out and touch it. Yeah. The sun, get this, the sun is almost 93 million miles. Yeah. And tomorrow it's like you just reach out and touch it. You said, Richard, that makes sense. What do you mean about distance? I said, all of that to say this about the person. Psalms 103:11. For as the heavens is high above the earth, so great is His mercy toward them that fear Him. Okay, there's 5 of you excited. Psalms 108:4. Listen, for thy mercy is great above the heavens, and thy truth reacheth unto the clouds. Okay, I'm just telling you. Listen, at the miracle, we can't understand this miracle by distance. Not only by depth, but by distance. Preacher, I don't really understand all that. God has so put your sins so far. He has had, you say, how much mercy has God had on me? Let me just read to you again. 45,000 feet average plane, 26,000 feet, your life's over here. Okay, outside that little box you're sitting in on the plane, and outside all that stuff they're giving you, you're dead, you're gone. You can't make it over 26,000 feet. Your body cannot adjust to it. Are you listening to me? At the 7,000 feet, your hemoglobin begins to plummet. You say, what are you saying? Hey, listen to me. Jesus has done something with our sins. He has shown grace and mercy that far outreaches the heavens in your life tonight. And if you think He's going to go to that extent just so your sins can be found, you need to say you're praying for non-support. Yes, sir. Amen. Death, distance. Number 3, we get an understanding of this miracle about our sins being hidden by direction. Direction. The distance from Virginia Beach to San Francisco, California is 2,982 miles. It would take, man, it would feel so good, Brother Levi, I got in that plane, and I was in Atlanta, in about an hour and 36 minutes. Wow. Hallelujah. If I'd have gotten that time this morning at 6 o'clock, I'd probably still be driving. It's amazing. 2,982 miles. It would take you on average 43 hours by car, 972 hours by foot, which is equivalent to 40 and a half days to travel. Virginia Beach to San Francisco, California. That's about as far east as you can go and about as far west. The circumference around the earth is 24,901 miles. Okay? So, preacher, what significance is that? Some of y'all so struggling with this stuff, the devil letting you please picking you up with stuff and reminding you of stuff like it's right there. He said, when he says something, you think it's like right here. Like you're going to turn around and stare you in the face. Some of y'all know where I've been living. Some of y'all know where I've been going through the time. You say, what do you mean, preacher? I want you to understand there's a miracle taking place in your life. And because of direction, I want you to understand something about your sin. Psalms 103 verse 12. As far as the east is from the west, so far. Listen now. It is so far. So far. For God so loved the world. So loved the world that He gave His Son. So far. He has removed our transgressions from us. I'd shout, but I'm afraid I'll pass out. So far! You ain't gonna turn around and bump into that singing. You say, where's it at? It's over in the east. You ain't gonna turn around and bump into that singing. You say, hey, you know that? It's in the west. And I say to you tonight, you cannot find my sins by distance because there is an absence of an absolute. He didn't say your sins are as far as the north is from the south, because the north has a pole and the south has a pole. But you get started tonight and come see me when you get done, and you go east and travel, and when you get back, honey, you're still going in the same direction. And what you not there, that's my sin. And when you start west and go all the way around the world, when you get back, you're still going west, and you're still not found the sin. Let me say this. We gain an understanding of this miracle, not only by direction, but we gain an understanding of this miracle by death. Colossians 2. And you, being dead in your sins, and the uncircumcision of your flesh, hath He quickened together with Him, having forgiven you all trespasses. Might want to grab somebody right here. Blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which were contrary to us, and took it out of the way. Nailing to His cross. Let me get to Hebrews 9:26. For then must He often have suffered since the foundation of the world, but now once. In the end of the world hath He appeared. Here's my whole message in 2 words. He hath appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of Himself. I got a little ahead of myself. I mentioned that darkness down in there. You can go down in that sin. But I'm going to tell you there's another dark place. Jesus lived 33 and a half years on this earth. Honey, he lived a perfect life. He's flung on the scene at about age 30 in his earthly ministry. I'm telling you, he's popping miracles out everywhere. He's raising the dead, causing the blind to see, making the lame to walk. He's letting the deaf hear. The gospel, the poor have the gospel preached to them. John got so excited about those things, he said, let me die. I'm ready to die with what he said. Are you listening to me? I'm telling you, Sunday night, honey, Jesus didn't come to heal blinded eyes and make the lame to walk. He did not come to heal. He did not come to raise the dead. He did not come to make the deaf be able to. You say, what did he? Honey, that was just to prove who he was. But why did he come? His face was set as a flint to Calvary. He had one goal. There was one option. There was no plan B. It was Calvary. When you got to Calvary, that perfect life, that perfect lamb, God's perfect man, man's perfect God. He's singing there between two dirty thieves. Honey, I'm telling you, they had beat him and they had mauled him and ridiculed him, hung a sign above him in letters of mockery. Jesus, King of the Jews. Oh, I'm telling you, put the beard from his face. His visage was marred more than any man. Right. All of a sudden, Jesus goes to talking. Come on. And he talks to John and his mama. Are you listening? We could go through all that. But I'm pretty excited when he got over there to that one part in that conversation. And he turned his eyes and his attention off what was going on earth. He said, hey, don't weep for me, weep for yourselves, weep for your children. Oh man, all of a sudden his attention goes from this earth and this world to another world. And I think he just looks up and here's what he said. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And in the middle of the day, honey, God reached over off the throne, grabbed the light switch and hit it. Amen. Turned the lights out in this world. I'm not talking about just around Calvary, honey. God turned the lights out on this world. And honey, in the midst of that darkness, God the Father and God the Son and God the Holy Ghost got together. What were they doing? Sir, there's a whole lot going on. But the one thing I'm real excited about is he went in with my sin and he came out without him. Oh, blessed day. Are you listening? He went in with my sin. He came out without my sin. God turned the lights on. My sins were gone. Now, if you're upset with anything I've said, and some of the Old Testament scriptures, and you think I kind of just misinterpreted all this, I'd like for you to stand tonight. If you got a real Bible explanation of Scripture to back it up, we all want to hear where He's put our sin. Amen. We all want to hear where He's put it. See, here's the thing. God, before you and I came along, was the author of hide and seek. And some get me, preacher, some get me thinking about this thing over again. You got to understand, man don't go to hell because he drinks or he dopes or he's cheated on his wife or she's cheated on her husband. No. They don't go to hell because they're wicked and they're living. No. Man goes to hell because he rejects the one who has given all for him. Listen to me. Here's how I know. Oh my God. Before you and I ever came into this world, before Adam ever sinned in the Garden of Eden, he was a lamb slain before the foundation of the world. And honey, I want you to know, listen to me, I'm not a Calvinist or the son of one, but you understand it was paid to begin with. Amen. You can't give him the lamb slain before the foundation of the world, the sin debt not be paid. Right. Right. Well, see, what you got to understand, ain't you the youth pastor? What you got to understand, brother youth pastor, is that every man's sins are already paid for. Amen. It's like being a millionaire and don't even know you're a millionaire. And so some of us today we find out we're millionaires. We can't help it. It's like Brothers and Clearhouse showed up at the door and said, "Hi!" And we went, brought some of that Colorado air down here. Get out there, buddy. It's like, I'll be back. I just covered. I wrote down one more this afternoon. I'm going to preach. I'm sorry. I wrote down one more I didn't have in Colorado. Turn your Bible. Isaiah 44. Hurry. Read. Isaiah 44. I'm pretty excited about it. We got to understand this miracle by direction. We got to understand this miracle by death. Oh, but watch this. I'm done. Look at me. Please don't give up on me. We got to understand this miracle by dismay. Dismayed. Some of y'all are like, yeah, he's dismayed. Look at verse 22. Let's read verse 21. Remember these, O Jacob and Israel. For thou art my servant, I have formed thee. Thou art my servant, O Israel. Thou shalt not be forgotten of me. Glory! You say, he ain't talking to you. Yeah, but I can see me right there. Verse 22. Watch this. I have blotted out as a thick cloud thy transgressions, and as a cloud thy sins. Return unto me, for I have redeemed them. Dismayed. We understand, we get to understand this miracle by dismay. So we're talking about, well, the term blot out means to smear out. It means to obliterate, to wipe away. That term put away just a few minutes ago that I mentioned to you in Hebrews 9, it means cancellation. I don't have time to give that illustration because I want to give this one. Cancellations can be good. Sometimes they can aggravate you, but, you know, they can be good. I don't have time, but let me give you this one. How's a cloud blotted out? My goodness. All they said when we took off. I don't know why I'm talking to you, you're the pilot. They said when we took off today. They said it's choppy here in Virginia, and it's going to be choppy when we fly into Atlanta. We just flew here from Atlanta, and it's real cloudy and rainy, and it's going to be choppy. But it went line. I'm going to tell you something. I've never seen cloud cover when I've flown. Any time I've flown, I've never seen it like today was. But last week, feel a touch right here. This past week I went hunting. I was hunting, and any man, any real hunter, if he goes in the woods in the morning, he gets in there before daylight. We got some real men in here. You men go in at daylight, just keep your mouth shut. And Brother Tony, I went in the other morning. I hung on this guy's place. He's in my church, and I know this place. If I've been there once, I've been there 300 times, okay? I know this place like it's my place. I pulled up in there. There come a fog rolling in. And I looked up today. Don't come try to correct me. I looked up on the internet. You know the internet's on the internet. Yes. Okay. Yes. Interweb. I can't break all that down for you while they say that. But here's the thing. Preacher, I pull up, and out of nowhere, this fog just sits down. I mean, there was no fog, then there was just fog. I'm driving across this pond. I've been across this one hill 300 times. Brother, I'm telling you, I couldn't see hardly off of the hood of my truck. And I was like, I just got parked. I can't see. I'm afraid I'm going to go off the side of this thing. I get out. And I get out, I'm thinking, I don't know if I see the wall. I'm going to be a sissy and wait till daylight. I was going to turn my man card in. and so, yes, I have a flashlight. So the flashlight wasn't helping. I had to make it off in the dark. It was so foggy. I ain't kidding. I started off, I went to the front of my truck, and I was trying to find tire tracks where I'd been in there a few days before. And I started, in a minute, I thought, something ain't right. I felt like I was walking off the side, and I turned around, and in probably 50 steps, if that, I had already made a circle coming back to my truck. That's fog, friend. I mean, are you listening to me? That is a thick cloud. I didn't know where I was at. I went back, found the tracks, and made my way in. I'm telling you, friend, it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Got to my tree, finally found it. Thank the Lord. Thanks, I didn't get hit by a bear or a wolf or coyote or something in this mess. And thank God I've been able to get to the tree I want to be in. I'm telling you, I couldn't see. I climbed that tree and all that fog. It was laying like a blanket. Well, I sat in the tree that morning, waiting on that big monster to come in. I'm sitting there watching that fog, and I'm begging it to get up out of there. I'm begging it to get up out of there. Yeah. And the longer I sit, the more I'm begging that fog. That fog ain't listening to me. Yeah. I'm like, let's go. I'm waiting on the bus. Come on. That fog didn't do anything. And I sat there and said, come on, get out of here. And that fog didn't even move. Yeah. Do you know they told me, I read this on the internet. Interweb. I read this on the interweb. There's only two things that can remove fog or a cloud. You know what they are? They said to me that the wind has to disperse it or the sun has to break through. I said, oh yes! And I got to thinking about that the other day, and he said to me, I'm begging that cloud, I'm begging that fog, please leave. And I got to thinking about my own life. There were days I didn't know what to do, but I was like, oh God, please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. I don't want to live this way. But I didn't know what to do, and it wouldn't listen to me. I sat there the other morning, all of a sudden, I ain't lying. God knows my heart. If I'm lying, I'm lying. Do you listen? But I sat there the other morning, all of a sudden, the wind began to blow. In that tree, I'm up in that tree, it was kind of doing this right here. And all of a sudden, that fog starts moving. That cloud starts breaking up. And all of a sudden, I sat there and way after what was supposed to be daylight. And of course, you know the sun's out and you can see now a little bit. And all of a sudden, right through the tree to my right hand side, right in my eye. Guess what was coming in there? The sun. In just a few minutes, the sun and the wind got to working together. And all of a sudden, that cloud lifted up off of there. And buddy, I'm telling you, a gentle breeze began to blow. And the sun was shaking so bright in my eyes. I had to put a hat on to keep it out. I said, what the Lord are you saying? I was in great dismay. But It was cold that morning, and that cloud just sat down in there. And by the time I climbed out of that tree, at about 11 o'clock, you would have never known a cloud has been there at all. You know what the world ought to be able to do, Brother Levi? You ought to be able to look at our life. And man, I tell you, we ought to be so consumed with the fact that our sins are gone, that the cloud has been driven out, that it no longer holds us down. I'm telling you, they said, hey, fasten your seatbelts. We're on our final descent into Atlanta. I thought, oh my God, I can't even see the ground. I mean, I was telling you, it was so thick. And all of a sudden, man, that plane got a load of clouds. And there were trees. And the beauty of what I knew. Oh, honey, you talk about beauty. When Jesus opened my eyes, and my sins were gone. The world will look at us and scratch their head and say and go, what's that crowd? Why would they stay? Why would they have meeting all week? Call it camp meeting and shout and run around and go to the altar and go every night and come back in the mornings and stay? Why? Total dismay. The wind started blowing and the sun started shining. I can't even explain it to you like Jesus said. All I know is that when the wind blew and the sun started shining, the cloud lifted, and there I was, in a brand new day. It had warmed up in my life, and Jesus was in control. Hallelujah. My sins are gone. Yours are gone. You can't find them. He can't find them. We're letting him beat you up with them. We're beating up yourself over them. You confess them. They're gone. This morning's sins are gone. Yesterday's sins are gone. I've already told you. All your sins are future. You say, what about this morning, preacher? I really failed. All your sins are future in Calvary. Amen. You'll get a hold of that later. We'll get you down there at the Bojangles. In this thing. We'll get you at the Bojangles, honey, running around, laps around them, and it won't be because you bought a biscuit. It'll be because you figured out.
Pastor, y'all come on. Sing that song in Christ. Where are my sins? Oklahoma. Brother Eric made a statement when he was in Colorado. He said, everybody trying to figure out where their sins are. He said, I done figured something out. I don't care. As long as they're gone, that's all that matters to me. Some of you's letting your past eat you alive. You got family members that remind you of it. You might have likes to remind you of it over and over, but you got to get a good bulldog grip on the fact that when you confess your sins, that they are gone, never to be remembered. Let's stand our feet tonight. God, deal with your heart. Maybe somebody ought to come pile up in an altar and say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that my sins are gone. Some of you have been saved so long you forgot just what a big deal it is. Oh, listen. People are coming. Somebody can get your sins gone right here tonight. If you come confess them to the Lord Jesus Christ, He'll do the same thing with yours He done with mine. But you mind the Lord tonight. Hallelujah.
Solid ground, firm through the
grace of God, crying, shouting. Some of these gray-headed, bald-headed saints have been down the road. You hear me, friend? I don't care if you got saved off a church pew or if you got saved off a street corner. You hear what I'm saying to you tonight? My generation better get in on this old-time religion. You young people, I'm telling you tonight, you hear me? I told my kids, this is what I told my kids. All my 3 kids have been raised in church. This is all they know. But I said, man, you're so far ahead of me, it's unbelievable. All they've ever known is the things of God. All they've ever known is old-time preaching. All they've ever known is church and old-time singing. All they've ever known is the glory of God. I'm telling some of you young people, son, you ought to be circling the building tonight because you could be sitting on the church pew of 2 full side of hell. You could be sitting here tonight lost in your sin. But somebody cared enough. God stepped into somebody's life years and years ago. And you're sitting here tonight as a result of somebody loving Jesus in your life. And our generation better learn how to raise their hands. My generation better learn how to shout the house down. Because when these things are gone and these things are gone and left out of this world, it's going to be a silent place. Unless there's some young men and some young ladies that can go back like the preacher said and remember that He washed them all away. He took them out of your life. He made you different, honey. He gave you something, but hey, you don't deserve to be here tonight. I don't care who your daddy is. I don't care how long you've been a member of Him. Nobody deserves this life. Glory. That's the truth. My generation is the most ungrateful generation I think there's ever been. We got more than we've ever had. But my generation don't know how to worship. We don't know how to give God the glory. I'm telling you, friend, listen, not because I preach. I'm telling you, we ought to tear this building down tonight. They ought to catch us outside. Somebody will have to call the police tonight. So, hey, I don't know what you're doing down there at that church. I'm telling you, they got something he ain't got down there. I'm telling you, there's something that's going to fall down in their soul. There's something bigger than them, and somebody needs to go down there and check on them. I'm telling you, we better get thankful and appreciate what He's done. I'm telling you, the lovely Lamb of God left all the glory. It cost God everything to save Him. It cost Him everything to wash the sin. We better learn how to thank Him. Lord,
I'll stay.
wants to drag your past up, telling you dive on in there and get it. You just go ahead, dive on in there and get it, friend. Hallelujah. It's deeper than you can go, and if you do go, you ain't coming back. Hallelujah. Thank God my sins are gone. Glory to His name. My sins are gone. I sing a little more. Thank God. Thank the Lord.
Bursting forth in glorious day, up from the grave He rose again, and as He stands in victory, since Christ has lost His grip on me, for I am His, and He is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no speed of man can ever rob me from His hand. So He returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand. No power of hell, no speed of man can ever pluck me from His hand. So He returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand.
Thank you. You can be seated. My. Come on, boy, Tom. So you don't have to Tommy up, do you? That's what we came for. Been waiting on this all year. Had a man one time that I knew had been complaining about the length of our services. Too much foolishness, he said. Too many people going to the altar. We'll be out there by 12. That's ridiculous. We don't get out at 12:30, 1 o'clock. That same man stood in our fellowship hall and told me this out of his mouth, Brother Eric. He said, I just want you to know, I've got the entire series of Lonesome Dove without commercials. You want to borrow it? That's about how many hours would you figure? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, somewhere around 12, 14 hours. And y'all upset because we don't have to preach. Glory to God. That's just, I can't get over the fact my sins are gone. I don't know about all that photo, twilight, midnight, all that. I don't know about all that. It's on the interweb. You find it. I don't know about all that. I can't go to the bottom of my swimming pool. It hurts my ears too bad. I do know that. It's 8 foot deep, and I can't get down there because it hurts. Pressure. I don't understand all that, and I don't care. I believe it. My sins are gone. Brother Tony, you help yourself, brother. Hallelujah.
Leviticus 25. Leviticus 25. All right, now he has set you up. The Lord has set you up tonight. Brother Brown getting back up there and exhorting at the end, I thought, to be honest with you, that might have been my heart, because it's right at where I'm at. That young people. As a matter of fact, how many in here is 25 or under? 25 or under. Stand up, Mr. 25. 25 or under. 25 or under. And some of you ladies that are like 26, you just got mad. You're like... Yes, you remember all them years when they would say, if you're this young, stand up, and you could stand up, and now you're old. And so you're doing that. All right, you be seated. That was the worship we just had. And now for a warning, just a tad. All right, I didn't mean to rhyme, but it just comes natural sometimes. In my old sins, I was a rapper, and now that's gone. You can try and find it, but you can't find it. I wasn't a rapper. I might have been a lot of things, but rapper wasn't it. I promise you. Leviticus 25. It's always a blessing to be here, and I'm honored to do it. Just y'all know how I feel about you. I love this place. I'll be here in the morning, but I'm leaving to preach at Ed Strickland's tomorrow night and Saturday morning, so I'll be leaving out. So I'll just say that I love you and hope y'all love me. Praise the Lord for the opportunity. Good to be with Brother Brown again. It was a blessing in Colorado, and a blessing tonight. Verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying unto them, When ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord 6 years. Thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard, gathering the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. And thou shalt neither sow thy field, nor prune thy vineyard. Jump down to verse 8. Thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, for the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to be set to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. And in the day of atonement you shall make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. And you shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you. And you shall return every man unto his possession, and you shall return every man unto his family. Verse 23. The land shall not be sold forever. The land is mine. That's the Lord talking about the land. For ye are strangers and sojourners with me, and in all the land of your possession you shall grant a redemption for the land. Look at verse 28. But if you be not able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that hath bought it until the year of Jubilee. Now listen, he said don't sell any of the land, but he gave some stipulations in there that sometimes they might have to. And so he's telling you here, now if that happens, it should be restored to him as soon as it can be. But it says if it cannot be restored, verse 28, then until the year of Jubilee, in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return unto his possession. So he gets it back. And if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after it's sold. Within a full year may he redeem it. And if it be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to him that bought it throughout his generations. It shall not go out in the Jubilee. But the houses of the villages outside the city, the houses of the villages which have no wall around about them, shall be counted as the fields of the country. They may be redeemed, and they shall go out in the Jubilee. You said, preacher, that is some of the weirdest verses we have ever heard a preacher read before preaching time. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I ask you to help me to make clear very simple truth today. And I thank you so much for the truth we have just been given from the Word of God, that our sins are gone. Amen. And Lord, maybe some people have seems to think perhaps they were raised in such a good way that they don't have many sins. Lord, I had a multitude of sins and still failed. So I'm thankful for that truth. I pray now that you'd help me to share this thought. I believe this is what you lay on my heart for this night. In Jesus' name, amen. I had wanted to come and preach maybe a glory message or something we could shout a little bit about. I felt like the Lord was leading me away from that. Well, now we know why, because the Lord already had that in the holster for Brother Brown. And so I feel like the Lord has led me to this thought here tonight. I want to show you some of these verses that jumped out at me sometime back when I was reading it. It jumped out at me a little strange. Once I studied it a little, it became a blessing, and I'm going to share that with you tonight. Now, in order to go there, I've got to point out a few things, a little bit like last night, a little more study-ish than I typically am. But we need to understand just a couple of things right at the beginning. Now, I got my stopwatch going. I won't be long, but I want to give you this truth. Now, of course, most of you know the book of Leviticus was given to teach the Jews how to worship and how to walk before the Lord in holiness. It was God's instructions to His people about how to worship Him and how to walk before Him. And much of it is an explanation of the practical and ceremonial law. But I want to show you something about this one particular part that I believe has something to teach us. First of all, let me mention this law of liberation, the law of liberation. In the first few verses, we read a word that most of you are familiar with, at least a little bit, the latter part of verse 2, where it said, thou shalt keep a land, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. Now, the word Sabbath very literally means time of rest. And you understand, and most of you do, that there are some different Sabbaths. One is the Sabbath for the laborers, and that's the one we normally think of when we hear the word Sabbath, where the Lord told His people, 6 days shall the work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath. That's an Old Testament Sabbath, and that's the one most of us think of when we hear the word Sabbath. And God was very serious about that, by the way, so serious that when He was dropping that manna from heaven, He said, now on Sabbath, and He first told me, He said, don't you try to keep any extra or it'll rot. He said, except on the next before the Sabbath, you try to corrupt. He said, except on that day, I'm going to give you twice as much because I don't want you to even have to gather your food on the Sabbath. And so God was very serious about that Sabbath for the laborers. And so He gave that to them. Now, understand that was not Sunday, that was Saturday. And we worship like the early church in the book of Acts on Sunday, the Lord's Day, the first day of the week. There was a Sabbath for the laborers. Most of you are familiar with that. There's a Sabbath for the land. We read about that right here in our text. It was instituted by God, and basically this one didn't happen every 7 days. It took place every 7 years. In verses 3 to 5, He begins to explain that, and He says, chapter 25, I'll turn please. In verse 3 He says, 6 years shalt thou sow thy field, 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard and gather the fruit, but in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, the Sabbath for the Lord. You shall neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. Very simply, the Lord understood that the land needed to rest a little bit. You and the farmers in here understand that. True. Now we don't have to live by that law, if you will, but the smart farmers know that you can use up all the nutrients in a field if you just grow on it and grow on it and grow on it and grow on it, and you never. So what they'll do is the smart farmers will occasionally plant that crop somewhere else for about a year or so, just to let the nutrients replenish in that soil, because you can burn it up. That's what God's doing right here. God knows. God built the earth. He knows how it works. And so you have the Sabbath for the laborers and the Sabbath for the land. But then there's a Sabbath for what I call a Sabbath for their losses. In verse 8 to 10, He begins to get in another Sabbath of sorts. Now, the Bible don't use that word, but it's a time of rest, if you will. It's a special time, and the Lord uses the word Jubilee there in verse 9 to describe what I'm calling this Sabbath for their losses. It was a time of restoration. And those who had suffered loss would be given a chance to get it back. If they had lost their freedom. Some, they were not supposed to take slaves or servants of their own brethren. God didn't want that. But He made a few exceptions. If a person got their life in such a mess that there was no other way to get out, they could allow themselves to be put into slavery for a period of time. And what the Lord has done here is He said, I want there to be a jubilee. I want there to be a time after a certain period of time that they are set free if they have been taken into bondage. In verse 10, the latter part says, you shall return every man to his family. So if a Jew had become a servant in bondage, or if he had a debt he just could not pay, then one of the ways he could pay the debt was go into slavery himself and work that debt off. But he was not to be a slave forever. God said there will come a time and you set him free, returning to his home. So the lost freedom they could get restored to them. But then those who had lost their fortune. In the verses we read, it's speaking of those who had fallen on such financial hard times that they were forced to sell their homes, their land. Verse 25, He says, if thy brother be waxen poor, and have sold away some of his possessions. And so the Lord is making an opportunity here for them to be able to be restored from what they have lost. And so He says, if they have had to sell their land, then on this 50th year, this Jubilee year, I want you give that land back to them. Verse 28 says, but if he be not able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that bought it until the year of Jubilee, and in the Jubilee shall go out, and he shall return into his possession. So they were supposed to give him opportunity to buy it back whenever he could.
Yeah.
That we're selling this now, but we understand it's yours, and as soon as you get on your feet, you're able to come back and regain it, you can do that. But here was the law. But if he never got to the place that he could purchase it back himself, God had built in this rest time, this restoration time, and God said on that 50th year, you just have to give it back to him. He gets a fresh start. You back to him. This Jubilee is a law of liberation. So then secondly, let me show you, this is what had my attention, that not only the law of liberation, but with the land, there is an exception. Verse 28 and 31, look at it again. If he be not able to restore it, he sold his land and he could not buy it back, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that bought it unto the year of Jubilee. In the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return to his possession. That's what I just explained to you. But look at this. If a man sell a dwelling house in a walled, what's that next word? City. If he owns a house in the city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after it's sold. So in the city, if he has a house and he gets to a place he cannot handle it, he has to sell the house, he has a year to buy it back. And then it says, within a full year may he redeem it. If he be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established for him forever to him that bought it throughout his generations. It shall not go out in the Jubilee. The very next verse says, but the houses in the village, they still abide by this Jubilee law. So there is an exception being made here with certain pieces of land. There's an obvious distinction. An obvious distinction in verse 30 and 31 is that if the house is inside the city, it does not go back to its original owner if he was unable to purchase it in the year of Jubilee. I know this is a little strange, but just stay with me. If he got to the place that he had to sell his land, but his house happened to be in the city, he had a year to buy it back. If he could not buy it back, then it was gone. He never got it back. If his house was part of his land out of the country, and he could not buy it back in the year of Jubilee, it was given back to him. Does everybody see the difference here? An obvious distinction made in these verses. Now, I began to look at it, and you can't get around it, and that's what you have. Inside the city, outside the city. So the obvious distinction then leads us to an ambiguous motivation. Why? Why is there a difference? Now, other than the obvious thing that God loves country folk better than city slickers. You like that in your heart. Alright, but if we were to take that nugget of truth and set it aside, what in the world is going on right here? Why has God made such a distinction? Why is God saying that that man is in the city living there, and that's where his house is, and he gets on hard times and has to sell that place, and he cannot buy it back in a year, then it's gone. He don't get it back. But that man out there in the field, in the village, if he finds himself in hard times, has to sell his place and cannot buy it back in the year of Jubilee, he gets it back. And I was, to be honest with you, I was just taken aback by it. I just thought that don't even seem like God. God's no respecter of persons. He don't care if you're a city person or a country folk. And so what I found out was, as best I understand it, is that the legacy was the motivation. That's number 3. The legacy was the motivation. I've been 14 minutes. Give me just a few more. See, when I began to try to study a little bit and read about what some other guys thought, it became a blessing to me. It's that God cares about legacy. God cares about inheritance. I'll use this one. God cares about heritage. That's what this is going to show us. God cares about heritage matters to God. The homes built on the lands outside the city walls were almost always built on land that had been part of that family's original inheritance from God. When God gave them the land and they began to parcel out the land, certain parts were given to this tribe, certain parts were given to this tribe, and so on and so forth. And then within the tribe, they would divvy it out among families. Does everybody understand that? That land was God's land that He has given to these people, the Jews. By the way, it's still God's and it's still theirs. Our politicians need to understand that. And that ought to matter to you what a politician thinks about Israel. More than your billfold or your political party. And so the houses out there were tied to their heritage almost always. The houses in these cities, what most of them began to say was that often they had bought those for more personal reasons or for more practical reasons or often for profitable reasons. Perhaps there was a financial benefit. Matthew Henry said it this way, quote, the house in the city might be built for purposes of trade or traffic merely. The house in the country was built on or attached to the inheritance which God had divided to respective families. It was therefore absolutely necessary that the same law applied to the house as to the inheritance. That's what God said here. He said the house will be considered like the land. The land that is mine. Remember we read that? God said it's mine. And that I have given to you as a heritage. He said if you build a house on the land I gave you, then it's part of that land. And it's for their family. And if he got himself in a mess where he couldn't take care of it, then I'm going to give it back to him. Because I gave it to him. But God said, but if a man saw a profitable opportunity inside a city, and he said, that's the kind of business I'm in, so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to buy a house in there, and that's going to help me with my profit, that's going to help me with the business I'm in, or whatever. Maybe he just liked the city better than the country, and he went in and bought that. God said, now, if you get in trouble there and you lose that house, it's not a big deal to me. God said, you can sell it and get yourself out of debt, but you don't get that one back. You know why? It's the heritage part. Heritage matters to God. See, it's important to God that these people, these Jews, give attention to something that has been paid for, preserved, and passed down. That's what I see here. That God cared about the fact that that was not yours. You didn't do that. That was done by somebody else and started with me, God said. And then I gave it to your forefathers, and they paid the price, and they paid the price, and they paid the price, and they preserved it for you, and they took care of it for you, and it's been handed down from me to them, to them, to them, to you, and that matters to God. Heritage matters to God. Now we're living in a day in the religious world, in the, if you will, our fundamental Baptist world, where heritage just doesn't seem to matter at all. That don't mean it doesn't matter to God. It matters to God. God's not against some changes. God's not against some improvements. We like the padded pews. And you like the microphone. We like the air conditioning and the heat, all of those things. We like the help of the screens that really let us see some of the visual illustrations. We like some of those things, but understand something. The stuff that our forefathers have passed down to us as a heritage matters to God. It should matter to God. In 2 Kings chapter 4, there was a group of young prophets that found themselves in a lack. Those sons of the prophet, they didn't have enough food. The prophet sat down with them and said, hey, put the food on, it's time to eat. They didn't have enough. And that lack made them desperate. And it made them so desperate that they went out and they found some gourds, some new things. Now it says they didn't know them. Now, listen, they didn't know it was bad and say we don't care if it's bad. That's not the mistake they made. They let their lack make them so desperate that they were willing to try something new, whether they knew it was good or not. And that's what we're seeing in our churches. We're seeing in our churches that because that church over there is called a mega church, has got 3,000 people, and sometimes we look at our pews and maybe we don't have so many, we start getting desperate. And what happens when you get desperate is you will sometimes try something that is new, whether you know it's good or not. Now, it may be okay, but your heart should be, I've got to make sure it's okay before I just add it to this stuff I know is right. And by the way, that's what they did. They took that pottage that they already had that they knew was good, hey, that old faithful stuff, and they didn't throw it out. They just added the new to it to try to solve this problem of lack. And at first, it seemed like it was working. Because they were hungry. And when they first took it in, it seemed like it fixed the problem. But the Bible said it brought death. And that's what we're seeing in our churches. Hey, listen, you 25s and unders, I want you to focus. I'll be very much longer. But what I'm telling you is that the heritage matters to God, and it needs to matter to you. What you've been getting even this week, hey, everybody hasn't been given what you've been given. But you need to also know that this came 1 Kings 21, we won't turn there, but that's where old Naboth, Ahab comes along and says, I like your vineyard better than mine. I want it. I'm the king. I want it. He said, I'm sorry, sir. I cannot sell you that. He said, I'll give you a better one for it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's better. It doesn't matter how much money you give me. He said, this was my father's. This was passed down to me. And he died for heritage. He just said, I can't sell it. Listen, there's Eleazar and a few other mighty men. They stood in the middle of they stood in the middle of a field that had very little financial, a barley field. You know why the Philistines attacked that field most likely? Because barley wasn't a high-priced crop. It was a secondary crop. And the Philistines thought this, they're not going to die for that cheap crop, so we'll take this field very easy. And guess what? They were right for almost everybody in the land. The Bible said all the children of Israel fled, except about 4, 3 men and the king. And the Bible said they stood in the midst, right in the middle of it. They wasn't out there screaming about your field, but what they did say was, but this one was passed down to us. Hey, listen, when you start looking at it, it looks like it's a field close to the valley where David fought Goliath. It's very well possible that they gained that field in that battle, and it mattered to David. Amen. God gave us that field, but God let me kill the giant. This field matters to the king. And Eleazar said, if it matters to him, it matters to me. And we're not going to stand over there and yell how you handle your field, but if you walk into this one, then we are going to fight to the death. And it's not my job to get out here and stand on the edge and scream about what everybody else is doing wrong and everybody else that's throwing away things. But I tell you what is my job. Stand in the middle of the field God sent me. Hey, God, hey, bless His holy name. God, let me be born into this field. And all this stuff came to me by the grace of God. And I'm not supposed to run around and try to figure out everybody that's changing and everybody that's doing it a little different and blast their name and curse their name and attack. That ain't what I'm supposed to do. So I am supposed to get in the middle of my field where God put us and say, but if you come in here and try to take this stuff, then I'll fight till my hand cleaves to the sword. You know why? Because heritage matters to God. Hey, God's going to listen. To whom much is given, to him shall much be required. God's looking at my life, and God is saying, boy, I handed you a lot. Others paid the price, Tony, so you can have all that stuff. You better care about it, because God said, heritage matters to God. I have on my wall in my office the chorus to that song, I Have a Goodly Heritage. Have the words printed on. I have a picture of the old preacher that pastored when I was a boy, when my family got in. The old white church that was there, the little youth choir out of that church that I led for years. And they got a picture of my family now out there. You know why? I don't want to forget it. We didn't do everything right in the church. But I'm going to tell you something. We had the right Bible. We knew how to worship by the grace of God. The Holy Ghost came on a regular basis. That old preacher paid the price. He paid the price. He's the one I told him, I believe this morning, the last words he ever said to me and my brother on his deathbed. My brother was going to pray for him, and he leaned over and he told Terry, he said, shut her down, boy. And some of you, I don't mean anything. Oh, it does. It means don't you pray like a sissy. It means you bring it down. I thought, boy, if a preacher's got to say last words to two of his preacher boys, that's a pretty good one. Hey, shut her down! You know what? He don't want me preaching like Joel Osteen. You don't want me messing around like that. He said, I'll pass that on to you, God. It matters to God. Listen, the Bible matters to God. This King James Bible matters to God. People died that we might have it. They shed their blood that you might have a kingdom. And it may not be a big deal to the rest, but it is a big deal to God. And I would just throw it out so maybe I can get a few more. Amen. William Tyndale gave his life. He's trying to give us the Bible in English. Gave his life for a common man. And his last words were, as they were about to kill him, was, open the eyes of the king. Yes, sir. favor of this King James Version. You know what would be like? There's thousands of manuscripts in Textus Receptus, which is the right one.
Right.
There's very few that the other Bibles use. And here's what's amazing. The thousands that make up the King James Bible agree almost 100%, all the 1,000 different ones.
Amen.
The few manuscripts that make up these new Bibles, if you will, they disagree with each other all the time. That doesn't make any sense. It'd be like, this would be like a car wreck happening right out here on the street.
Come on.
And the police show up to see what happened to this car wreck, and on one side of the road there's 50 of us standing there. 50 of us. And they asked all 50 of us what we saw, and almost without fail, all 50 of us tell exactly the same story. But then they look across the street, and across the street are two older people. And they go to them because they're old. Which, by the way, is what they say about them. And they go and say, well, let's ask these two and see what they saw. And when they go to those two's story disagree with all of us, but listen, and disagree with each other.
Right.
They not only disagree with what we 50 all said, they don't even get along with what they said. So let me ask you something. Which story would a cop with any sense listen to? Now, would a cop say this? Would he say, well, them two are older, so older's better? Or would they say, no, the evidence is overwhelming over here. Truth is over here. Error over there. Hey, that's your King James Bible. Evidence is overwhelming, and it was passed to us, and a price was paid, and it's been preserved by God supernaturally, but by men and women who died that we might have it. It matters to God. The Bible matters to God. Heritage matters to God. Hey, our beliefs matter. Being a Baptist is still a big deal. I'm at 27 minutes. Give me a couple more. Being a Baptist still matters. Is it that? Yeah, it's that big a deal. It was passed to me. And guess what? They died for that. In this land. In this land.
That's right.
So one of our Baptist distinctives is that the autonomy of the local church. That the leadership of the church is within the church. So Brother Eddie, the leaders of this church, that's who runs this church. No other organization, no government, no board, no nothing. You know that men literally died to preserve that belief. In these lands. So, in the colony of Virginia, one of my favorite stories, John Weatherford. I'm going back. John Weatherford, right before the Declaration was sounded, he was living in this land as a Baptist preacher, and the Church of England said, you've got to be licensed by us. In other words, we are your authority. He said, no, that ain't how we believe. That ain't how we believe. He said, we don't believe like that. We're not our authority, the pastor's the authority. They said, if you don't do it, you go to jail. They locked him up. By the way, they caught him one day. He was supposed to preach an open-air meeting, and everybody was out there. And they arrested him and took him, and everybody showed up to the open-air meeting, and he wasn't there. And word started spreading. They found him. He was over in jail. So they got over by the jail window. He could see him out there, and they said, we're here, preacher. So he just starts preaching out there. He was a little wild as a preacher. They said he would use his hands when he's preaching. He put out the window. The authorities were losing their mind. How would they stop this guy? Listen, one of the things they did, wicked men stood outside the window, and they would cut his hands when he'd throw his hands out, trying to get him to stop. As a matter of fact, when I first read this story, it started with this funeral, and a little boy coming up to the casket of an old man in the casket, and he had his hands folded, and there was white lines all across his hands, and he said, Daddy, what is that? And the daddy started explaining this story, that's when the men stood outside that window, and they'd cut his hands as he had preached, and he couldn't help himself. And the story said that he was slinging blood on the people listening, but he still just preaching. So they put a wall outside to try to stop the people from coming. You can find this. This is history, all right? It's on the interweb. And Brother Levi probably knows it. He's not a pilot, but he probably knows it. So they built a wall. Guess what? They built the wall thinking if the people can't see him and he can't see the people, they'll stop doing this. So they built the wall. The people started putting little boys, they'd pick them up and stick them on top of the wall. And the little boys would say, okay, preacher, everybody's here, go ahead. He'd preach over the wall. So then they broke up glass and they put masonry on it. They put broken glass along top of the wall so they couldn't put anybody up there. And so this is the painting that I've seen. He's standing there and he's got his hands out the window and you can see the wall with the broken glass, and on the other side of it you see a little stick with a white flag. And that's what they'd do. They'd get there and when they had everybody gathered, they'd wave that little flag. And preach from the jail. Hey, you know where that was? if Brother Eddie said, well, I mean, we are Baptists, but it's just so divisive. So maybe we should just take it off the side.
Come on, preacher.
Do you think John Weatherford would be all right with that?
Come on, preacher.
With his cut up hands?
Come on, preacher. Amen.
You know what he'd say? He'd say, wait a minute, we paid the price.
That's right.
We paid the price for y'all to have a church. It matters to us. And you 25 and under, it ought to matter to you. I don't care what the New Agers are saying. I don't care what all your friends are saying that go to the churches that won't say Baptist, that won't say they really are. And I'm not out there screaming their names. It don't matter what they do at their church. Hey, it ought to matter to you. Because it's been handed to you. And God says it came from me to them people that paid the price. And now I've given it to you like a gift. Will not just let it go. Heritage matters to God. Last of all, our behavior. Brother Eddie, you go ahead and start coming. Our behavior. So what are you talking about, our behaviors? I'm talking about old-time religion.
Amen.
I'm talking about what he's saying.
Yeah.
How we worship.
Sure.
I want it for my kids.
That's right.
Nothing thrills me more. 32 minutes. Right there. And watching my own children and the young people of our church start lifting their hands. Coming down out of the choir, going to the altar, lifting up both hands on the altar. I'm telling you, when I see our little ones do it, and as far as I know, it's the first time. When it's the first time, I can't hardly stand it. You know what you're talking about? Can't hardly stand it. When I see somebody little, we got a youth choir sings good bit. We got a children's choir. And they got to touch on it. That innocence, I think, is what it is. Every time they sing, it's just unbelievable. Them teens, you know, some of them are knuckleheads. They got some of that singing. They still got some of it, you know. And it's gone spiritually, but in their life, it's present. But them children, they got that innocence, and they'll start singing. And I'm telling you, I watched them this past year at the youth rally. Brother Matt's daughter, my assistant pastor's daughter's about 10, little old thing like that. She was singing the verses on one, and I'd never seen her do it before. But the tears started flowing. That last year, she got ghost, man. She got filled. You know what she said? She said, I got filled with Jesus. She was singing at the nursing home with our school kids, and she got a blessing at the nursing home. And just saw. Well, them old ladies saw this little girl crying. You know how old ladies and little children, they don't want them crying. Them old ladies got a little bothered. And she said, told her daddy, she said, all of them just kept asking me, mine's all right. And this is what she said to him. She said, I guess, Daddy, they just don't know what it feels like to be filled up with Jesus. So she's singing at the youth rally. And when she's singing the verses, I see her little hand go up. The joy of the Lord just floods my soul. Because see, I was handed that. I know everybody don't got to do it just like us. You don't worship just like I do. I'm a maniac sometimes. But you see the daughters worship like mom. Because it's been handed. And you 25 that all stood up and under, you don't got to do it just like we do it. Listen, but it needs to matter. It needs to matter. My grandbabies, when they come along, they need to be able to go to camp meetings. They need to hear ladies shout like that. They need to sing me a stand. Don't be ashamed of rejoicing in that. And I'm going to tell you, that comes you are, leave as you are stuff. It don't matter what Bible, it don't matter what standards, and it don't matter. Hey, all that, it don't have it. I want my kids to know you feel God when I rock a song. Hey, and I'm no better than anybody that has never heard that.
That's right.
But I'm blessed because I have heard that. Hey, preaching like you heard tonight about singing, there's a lot of people don't even hear the word singing. They don't in any churches unless heritage matters to us. It'll be absent. And I turned my phone off while ago, so that's one time I quit, even though I was still standing. Had a family leave our church through the years with some church trouble. They're great people. Just got wounded in the messes. Traveled around for years trying to find a place. Got settled in one that was doing pretty good, and got plugged in. They're great folks. I'm telling you. after they'd been there for a few years, a new guy took over, the church started changing. They didn't want to leave. They're invested. They love God. That's their church. They stayed and they stayed, and He just kept changing. He just kept changing stuff. They tried to give Him the benefit of the doubt. Just kept changing. They showed back up at our church. Their kids had come back as grown kids. Mom and Daddy showed back up, started coming. After they'd been there a while, he came to me, they started telling me, they said, when he started attacking the Bible, we had to go. After they'd just been back a little bit, I preached a message one night on the dangers of moral impurity. Now, if you don't know what that means it was a very straight message about the sensuality of this world, the wickedness of you messing around with somebody else's wife, touching people, and it was just straight, plain about quit fooling around. Now, her and her husband have got one of the best marriages I've ever seen. They come walking out after the service, almost with tears in their eyes, and they said, "That's great preaching." I thought, normally people come up and say it's great preaching, if it's something they need. She said, "Great message, preacher." She said, "It's been so long since we heard anything like that." See, if we ain't careful, them 25s and under, they ain't gonna have what we're having this week. It needs to matter. You young people, don't you believe the lie that it don't matter. God said, if it's in the city and it was for that, then fine. He can just sell it. He said, but that stuff I gave them, no. They're getting that back. Because that matters to God.
Just stand. Come on.
I started my journey many years ago. I'm looking for rest and peace for my soul. I found it at Calvary. Truly I say, satisfied then and gets better each day. So I think I'll just go with God, looking back my way, I don't see a lot. And within there is joy, within there is joy. Blessings untold. So I think I'll just go without my road was paved with sadness there, but God's grace through, oh, it's sweet tender care, and I found Him faithful, compassionate. My course is set, so I'll finish with Him. So I think I'll just go with God, looking back my way, I don't see a lot. And within there is joy, within there is joy. Joy, blessings untold. So I think I'll just go
Listen, we're going to be out of here in just a minute. But those of you that said you were 25 the number, let me back up a little bit further. Maybe even 40 the number. You've never seen a fire. You've never seen your church blackballed.
Yeah.
Or your preacher's name blasted in every religious magazine. You have no idea. You know what I remember when I was a little boy? When I was a little boy, Brother Frank, there was a movement started. And here's what they call it: the Independent Baptist Movement.
Yeah, right.
We probably got some 40s and unders that don't know what that means. Why are we called Independent Baptists? Some of the greatest preachers in America stood up against the Southern Baptist organization. And it was over doctrinal issues.
Right.
We won't go into all of it. This is one of them. Ordaining women, that was one of them. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. How they support missionaries, that was one of them. Money. And these men of God, who were famous Southern Baptist preachers, somebody said they cut their own throat. No, they stood for what was right. I haven't forgot that. So when I watch these boys 40 and under that don't remember that fight, and I watch them say, I'm tired of this stigma that goes along with being an independent Baptist. You got to understand where Independent Baptist was born. It was born in a fight. So they had a scrappy spirit about it. But when they snatch that name off their sign, they have no idea.
Right.
What it took to put that name up there. I don't know why I'm saying all that. I know some good Southern Baptist folks. I do. I preach in some Southern Baptist churches. They don't even know that they are. They so far back in the woods, the co-op don't even know who they are. And if you don't know much about Southern Baptists, you ain't got a clue what I'm talking about. That's a good thing. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
There was a day when the Southern Baptist Church worshiped just like we have today.
Right.
Brother Phil, am I right? Brother Frank, they know I'm right. There was a day, these churches around here that call us a cult, they preach this. These churches around here that say you're a fool if you believe the only Word of God's a King James Bible. They used to preach it. I'm never going to forget those men of God that risk everything. Everything. Lester Roloff.
Yeah.
John Rice. Jack Howard. Those men who were the predominant evangelist in Southern Baptist denomination or organization. You know what they said? We ain't going to do it. We're not going to do it. They had a big meeting one day, and I promise they're going to sing a verse and we're gone. They had a big meeting one day, and they called those three preachers to that meeting. They had a big meal, big fine to do kind of deal. And they had old Jack House. And you may not agree with everything he preached and did. I probably don't either. I'm just saying he couldn't stand it. They said, is it true that you preached for not Lee Robinson, I just said it, Lester Roloff. Is it true you preached for Lester Roloff? Yes, I did. Is it true that you had John Rice preach for you? Yes, I did. Will you agree in this meeting to never preach for Lester Roloff again? Or to ever have John Rice preach for you again? No, I won't. Then, Mr. Howes, you leave us no choice but to tell you that you have preached in your last Southern Baptist convention. He stood up in that meeting, flipped the table over, and food went everywhere. And he said, brethren, I am not for sale. So why are you telling us all this? Somebody fought to get us where we are. I don't worship Jack Hyles, Lester Roloff, John Rice, Peter Ruckman. There's not a preacher I worship, but thank God for men that stood up and said, that's the word of God. This is the doctrine I believe, and I am not moving. Okay? I'm not for man worship, but I am for heritage, and so is God. And I love that song too, Brother Tony. We have a goodly heritage. A goodly heritage. Thank God. Thank you, Brother Tony. You know what? The day may come. You 40 and under.
Yeah.
When you may have to fight for what these two old men influenced. When you may be blackballed from the religious circle because you still believe what we taught you, what you learned from Brother Freddie in that Bible Institute, what these old men preached to you for years and years and years. Somebody with a whole lot more education than us is going to come along and say, oh, you just haven't been in line. You're just behind the times. You're just ignorant, bless your heart, and unlearned. Let us help you.
Thank God for ignorance.
You may have to stand up and say, on Christ the solid rock I stand. All of it ground is sinking sand. One more verse and we're going. Hallelujah. Thank God for the old man. I'd like to know, Brother Charles, I'd like to have some assurance in my heart that when we're gone,
Yes, sir. Amen. Yeah.
they'll keep doing it.
Yes, sir. Woo! Yeah.
They'll have some fire about them and some grit about them.
Yes, sir.
Hope that when we're gone, some of these young girls, when Miss Legina's gone and Miss Brenda's gone, some of these young girls will still get happy. Shout God, Lord. I'm talking about to the point where people will look and go, what's wrong with me? If we should go to the house, I wouldn't stop these kids from playing. For $1 million.
Right.
We've been privileged. I sat under some of the greatest men that ever lived in our country.
Right.
I sat under some of the greatest men that ever carried a Bible in the United States of America. I'm privileged. I grew up listening to Mays Jackson. Brother Mays. Brother Rick.
Yes. Amen.
Y'all know what I'm talking about, man. Brother Ed Ballou.
Amen.
Brother Billy Kelly.
Yes. Amen. Yeah.
I remember, they're done praying, we're going to dismiss. I remember Brother Willard Thomas, that's Brother Edgar's brother. Brother Willard's in heaven. He wrote that poem about the footprints in the sand. Somebody stole it. That's Brother Willard. We were in a meeting one night. Brother Joe and I preached. Brother Willard quoted some poetry. We was eating supper after church. This came, here's what Brother Willard said. He said, Eddie, when Brother Billy and Brother Mays went off to sea, he said the mantle fell on Joe. That's what Brother Willard said. Brother Mays, Brother Billy went off to sea. The mantle fell on Joe. Talk about Joe Law. Don't care if you like him or not. He's my friend. You got something bad to say, tell it somewhere else. But I remember praying every day of that. Those words stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Brother Eddie went Billy, and Brother Mays went off to sing. The mantle fell on Joe. And I remember praying, God, what mantle's going to fall on me? I want to pick up where some man of God left off. I hope a little bit of J. Rice's mantle fell on me. I hope a little bit of Charles Williams' mantle fell on me. I hope a little bit of Earl Partain's mantle fell on me. I hope when I preach sometimes somebody say, I can see a little J. Rice in that boy. I say, who was that? It don't matter. It matters to me. Just like old Brother Bobby. Wasn't that his name, Brother Tom? Like Brother Bobby. Bobby Shelby. Heard his name a million times, not because I ever met him, because it meant something to that boy right there. Well, we gotta go home. I just sit here think about that song, Precious Minutes. How they think.
Yeah.
I wonder if some of them old men looking on tonight, I wonder what they think some of these churches. I wonder if they'd be like them old people when they built that new temple. All the young people was shouting over all that new stuff. The old people just cried. Oh, well, hope you come back tomorrow night. Hope you'll come in the morning. Man, Brother Tony done some preaching this morning. You ain't got to be a preacher to come. That'll help anybody. He's talking about being a gift this morning, Brother Charles. How God gave us. We're gifts. Hey, man, that helped me, boy. That helped me. I don't mean in a prideful way. It made me want to be a better gift. That's what it did. In the morning, 10 o'clock, Brother Tony will be preaching, and he's got to head out. That'll be Brother Ed Strickland's tomorrow night. Brother Tony will be preaching, and you choir will be singing, so you pray for them. They've got a busy day. Boys, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, Henson's will be singing one more time. Brother Eric. Was y'all okay, Brother Eric? A few more practices and he'll preach. Amen. My little brother leaned over and said, that dude is wide open. I said, I like it, baby. I like it wide open, man. That's good stuff. So I hope we'll come back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Listen, we are selling the, and we're not here to sell stuff, don't get me wrong, but we are selling the gift cards to Honey Baked Ham. Miss Nina Watson has those up in the balcony. And listen, it's plenty of time for Thanksgiving, Christmas. Everybody goes and buys them things anyway. Listen, if you'll get them through us, those gift cards, 20% of every gift card that's sold, they're going to donate back to our bus ministry. And we're going to put a gift in every bus child's hand for Christmas and feed them Christmas dinner. So buy you honey baked ham from Miss Nina, okay? All right, I almost piled that up. But thank you for being in church tonight. Thank you so much. Turn and shake somebody's hand. Consider yourself dismissed. Hey, the cutoff date for them honey baked hams is next Wednesday night, so you got to get them done before we leave.